I worked as a correctional RN at Rikers
Oh.
Island. I did not know it was
What? Rikers Island?
I didn't know it was Rikers. I did not know. I literally,
Okay.
they were just like correctional health, psychiatry, and I knew that was a huge interest of mine. So I was like, okay, I'll consider it. It wasn't until I got to the end they told me that it was Rikers Island. So I had a really bad car accident. I was leaving from work. Thank God I had a roommate who he would always be like, he would hear the clicking because I wouldn't wear my seatbelt, and I would call him when I'm driving home so I wouldn't fall asleep. And he was like, I hear the clicking, put your seatbelt on. And literally 10 seconds later, I got into an accident. I was T-boned and my car was totaled. I had to have a surgery. I was out of it, couldn't walk. It was really crazy.
So when you mentioned that you were earning, what was the number that you said?
600,000.
$600,000 per year. And then he asked you what you do for a living, and you said you were a psych NP and you have your own private practice. I was like, I need to have you on this show. What is up, guys? Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and our series, Nurses to Riches, The Road to Fire. There is a severe lack of mental health services in the United States, and psychiatric nurse practitioners are learning that they can make a huge impact by helping to fill the gaps that exist in this country. And in this episode, I'll be speaking with a New York City nurse who suffered a terrible car accident, had to quit her job, but went on to be a source of hope for patients seeking mental health services. Just recently, she went viral on TikTok and Instagram after saying that she makes $600,000 per year with her own private practice. We are going to dissect the path that she took to get to where she is today. And we'll also be talking about her future goals in providing Section 8 housing for low-income families. Now, Iman, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you're currently doing for a living.
Sure. My name is Iman. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner and the owner of Mind, Body, Soul Psychiatry.
Cool. Okay. And where do you currently work and where did you grow up?
So I currently work in my private practice. I also do contracts in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, and I grew up in, it's a little complicated. I was born in the Bronx. I did elementary school in Mount Vernon, and then I did middle school in Virginia, and then high school I did in Yonkers. So I moved around a lot, but mainly Westchester area.
Wow. Wait, which was your favorite city to live in out of all of those?
I feel like if somebody asks me, I will usually say I'm from Yonkers because I feel like I spent my high school years there. So that was most memorable to me. But yeah, I loved Yonkers. It was like on the water and it was really peaceful.
Yeah, I have family. Actually, my wife has family that lives there. And every time we visit, they're so close to the water. It's so beautiful out there.
There's trails.
And the homes are huge.
It's beautiful. It's the perfect place to like have nature, but then be close enough to the city. So I loved it.
Yeah. And I just want to mention to people, like, it's funny, when I first moved to California, many people were like, where are you from? I can't pinpoint that accent. But then I had someone from Chicago who was a travel nurse who had traveled to New York. She's like, are you from New York? And I just want to say, for people that are listening, you can tell by your accent that you're from New York.
Okay, got you.
So did you develop that accent in New York?
Yeah, definitely.
That is so cool. And where do you currently live?
I just moved to New Jersey, so now I'm a New Jersey resident.
Why New Jersey?
So I wanted to get into real estate. And so when I was looking at places, I was looking at Connecticut. It's where my mom lives. I didn't see anything that I liked, but I love New Jersey because they're so open to like new construction and development. So I chose New Jersey.
What part of New Jersey, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm in Essex County. That's where I chose to do my real estate investment because they're really open to change. They're really open to development. So it was a great option.
What about the taxes, though?
Low. I don't know if I should say that on camera. Low. Though.
Yeah. No, the reason I ask is because my wife and I, we had considered when we moved back to New York City or New York, we thought about maybe moving to Paramus because the taxes are really low in Paramus. So we thought about maybe moving to New Jersey, but when we consider how much we would be paying in taxes, especially property taxes, most of New Jersey is extremely expensive. They charge out the wazoo for property taxes because I used to have coworkers when I worked at New York Presbyterian who all used to live in New Jersey. And when many of them would tell me how much they would pay for property taxes, oftentimes they would pay the same amount in property taxes as they would for their mortgage. That's how expensive it was. Yeah.
That's how Westchester is, the highest taxes, I think, in the country. So definitely wasn't doing that.
Wow. So do you have any siblings?
I have a half brother.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
brother.
And you said you were raised by, was it just your mother?
No. So I was raised by both my mom and my dad. They're both from the Caribbean. They're both from Jamaica. They came at like their 20s. And yeah, I was raised by both of them.
And why did you get into nursing?
Really and truly, my mother told me to. She's a Jamaican woman. She was like, I wanted to go to school for business or fashion. She was like, no, ma'am, I am not paying for that. You're going to school for nursing. So she told me to
Wow.
go to school for nursing. But I mean, it was really the best thing, like looking back at that, because I think for her, like coming from like being an immigrant, she felt like she wanted to make sure I had stability. And I feel like that was the best advice I could have had. And once I got into the profession and I was able to see what it's all about, I got really into it. Like I was like top of class, like studying all the time. Like I really like, once I saw what it was, like I took it really seriously.
Okay, how did you start your nursing career then after you graduated? And in what year did you graduate?
I don't even know. I just know I was 17. I remember that. So I was 17, and then so I didn't know what school to go to. So you know, in New York, a lot of people go to SUNYs and CUNYs, and so I was doing those applications. But my counselor, she was like, "Iman, you don't have to just do that. Honestly, like the schools that are going to give you scholarships are going to probably be private institutions." So I was like, okay, cool. And then I also had an interest in HBCUs because like my school was great. Like it was really mixed. It was like, you look at the classroom, it was like United Nations, but I was still the minority. It would be like one or two African-American people in there. So I was like, I want an HBCU. She said, go private. I literally just did a Google search and I found Tuskegee was like one of the top ones. And so that's what I chose.
Yeah. And for people, I often get people telling me, hey, can you not use acronyms? SUNY stands for State University of New York,
Yes.
and CUNY stands for City University of New York. And then HBCUs, yeah, that stands for Historically Black Universities and Colleges, right? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there you go. So you ended up going to which school ultimately?
I went to Tuskegee.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And did you get your BSN there?
Yeah, I did my whole at 17, did the whole 4 years, finished at 21.
Wow, really young. My
Yeah.
God. I didn't finish nursing school until I was like 20. And that's because I screwed up so many times along the way. But okay, so where did you work after, and how long did it take after you graduated and passed your boards?
Oh, there was a job offer like right away. I don't even think I had the job offer ready. And then I came back to New York to do the test. Like getting a job in nursing that's the simple part.
That's what I tell everybody. It's really not as difficult as people say it is. But I will say this, though. There are nurses that, because they don't really put themselves out there as much as I feel they should, it may take them like 3 to 6 months just to find a job because they're not applying in the right way. Like they might apply for one job here, to another job there, but they're not really like throwing a wide net out there to find a job. So where did you start working in your first job?
So I stayed it was Columbus, Georgia. So my first job was Columbus Regional. And of course I did what everybody said to do, which is to do med surg. So
Yeah.
I did med surg there for 7 months, but I had an accident. I had a really bad car accident. I was leaving from work. Thank God I had a roommate who like, he would always be like, he would hear the clicking because I wouldn't wear my seatbelt. And I would call him and when I'm driving home so I wouldn't fall asleep. And he was like, I hear the clicking, put your seatbelt on. And literally 10 seconds later, I got into an accident. I was T-boned and my car was totaled. So yeah.
Were you hospitalized?
I went right back to the hospital I was working at. They took care of me. It was crazy. I had to have a surgery. I was out of it, couldn't walk. It was really crazy. But I think that had to happen in my life because when that happened, the first call I got was from the hospital and they were like, so when are you coming back to work? I'm like, I can't walk. I can't walk. You know, I'm doing therapy. I'm explaining to them. They're like, all right, listen, we're going to have to put your job back up. You're welcome to reapply. And I was just like, okay. I feel like that had to happen very early in my career. From that moment on, I've never had any loyalty to a company. I was loyal to the mission, never to a company because I realized like they could care less. They could care less how you're doing, what's going on with you, even if you give really good service. So that was a big learning lesson for me.
I think that's similar to a situation I had, but I didn't have a car accident like you did. My experience was where I got laid off with 50 of my coworkers when I was in the financial sector. And that's when I told myself, I will never put myself in a position like this again, which is why we moved to California after we started working as nurses, is because we wanted to ultimately be in a position where we are financially independent of our employers. And that's why we moved here. We invested our money. We saved our money. We paid off all our debts. We only have our house that we need to pay off. But we went from like a negative like $80,000 net worth to now close to $700,000 net worth. And that's because we were just so focused on not ever having to worry about losing our jobs or relying on our employers. So like when you say that, it just resonates so much with me because a lot of people don't realize this. There's nurses that, even like during COVID, there's nurses that got their pay reduced by like 30% at Stanford. and it lasted a few weeks. But you just imagine, let's say you're making you're living on $100,000 per year, and that's to meet your basic necessities. That's what you're living at, and then all of a sudden now you're making $70,000. It's just like, what do you do? So that's what I think about every time I'm focusing so much on like growing this brand and the social media and all of this and our business, is because I know that at the end of the day, the more effort I put into this, the more I can secure my financial future.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important.
So you said after you got this call from your employer and they were asking you to come back to work, what was your exact response to them at that point?
I was livid. I don't even think I had anything to say. I was livid. I remember just literally limping, going into work, getting things that I needed to leave. And I dipped. I was like, this is crazy. Because I had done such a great job. I was a new grad. I was highly motivated. I would work extra hours. And I was just like, that was pretty shocking to me. But one thing about me, I've worked probably since I was 16. So for me, I've always kept like multiple jobs. I've always kind of known to like keep my head on a swivel. So I had already, like when I went to go visit my mom, I had already interviewed for a few jobs in New York, and I had landed jobs anyway. So I was like, with the thing that was crazy about that was that I said, I don't want to go there yet. I want to actually sit here and I want to learn more and become a really good nurse. Like I really just wanted to get the skills. I wasn't getting paid much, but to me, I was like, I really wanted to dedicate myself and set up good foundation. So for me, when that happened, I'm like, I got job offers for way more, waiting for me. And like, they clearly don't care about me. So I went right on to New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what unit were you working in when you said, you know what, after they asked you to come back, I'm not going back? What unit was that?
Well, they didn't ask me to come back. When they said that, I knew I wasn't coming back, but I was working in neurology, med surge. But it all worked out. It all worked out. I'm actually very glad that I moved back to New York. It was one of the best things I could have ever done for my career. And that learning less than 7 months into having my RN degree was a huge lesson as well. So it all worked out. I went to New York. I had 2 job offers, but I decided to go for the one that was paying the most because in my mind, I already knew I wanted to be debt free. I had some loans. At the time, I had to purchase a whole new vehicle. And I was like, oh, I'm going to pay this off. I'm going to pay off everything within the first year of my nursing. So I went with that job. It was great. It's a little non-traditional. I worked as a correctional RN at Rikers Island. I did not know it was
Rikers Island.
I didn't know it was Rikers. I did not know. They were just like correctional health, psychiatry. And I knew that was a huge interest of mine. So I was like, okay, I'll consider it. It wasn't until I got to the they told me that it was Rikers Island. So, and I started doing a whole bunch of research. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like the things that you see online about Rikers Island, I was like, what am I doing? But I also was like, first, I need to make money, number one, and I need to clear off my debt. So I was like, I don't know what this is going to entail, but I'm going to do it. Because I had already calculated it. I would be able to pay off my car, pay off all my debts, and have money left over by the first year of nursing. So I just did what I had to do.
So I previously interviewed a nurse who worked as a correctional facility nurse. And then she said she left that job after about 3 years or so to go into travel nursing. And she said that when she went into travel nursing, she had to like readjust her mindset because the way you work as a nurse in the correctional facility is completely different than outside of a correctional facility.
Totally different.
I was going to ask, can you go over your experience of what it's like to work at a correctional facility?
I got used to it. What they promise you in terms of like, there's going to be so much security. No, what you do is you have to learn how to assess situations to make sure that your safety is where it needs to be. Most of the work that we do is in the clinic. So the patients come down. So if we're doing diabetes care at the time, we do med passes, they come down to the clinic and we organize it. So me as the RN, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get care for everyone. I'm trying to get the method. I'm trying to get the diabetes care. I'm trying to do the wound care, right? I'm trying to make sure to coordinate all of that in the clinic. But another added layer on top of that is safety too. So things that we would do is make sure, okay, this person is from this gang, this person's from this gang. They can't be in the same clinic at the same time. Or if it's too crowded, people are going to start arguing. It's going to create a fight. So there's things that you do to manage safety to make sure that you can deliver the care, but also it doesn't create a dangerous situation.
Were you allowed to bring your phone or use your phone at work?
No phones. No phones. That was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then also you have to be mindful about what you wear and how you position yourself relative to the patient and where you position yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. So even like sometimes by the way, Rikers has 10 different jails. And from a medical standpoint, we're looking at it as, okay, this is psychiatric, this is serious mental illness, this is substance abuse. So it's weird because from a medical aspect, we're looking at it differently. But say if I'm in the unit with the guys there's people age in prison. So that is like an infirmary for people who are in wheelchairs and things of that nature. So say I'm in there and I'm in one of the smaller clinics, I don't like some of the guys will try to walk behind you and take things out that are sharps and things like that. So you just have to maintain control. So usually we'll do one person service at a time to make sure that no one's taking anything that needs sharps, anything that they're not supposed to take. So it's a lot of just managing things like that. But really and truly, like I was never, like people always say you wasn't insulted. Like, no, I never felt unsafe. I knew how to regulate it. And I feel like it was safer than the hospital environment. I had gotten beaten up a few times in the hospital. And I never was ever touched when working at Rikers. So to me, the correctional facility is safer than a hospital setting.
That's interesting. Did you have any coworkers that got assaulted while working at the correctional facility?
Not really. I mean, people do inappropriate things like
Mm.
that they should be doing. But in terms of like assault, no, I haven't
Okay.
had. And also they are very aware that like assaulting a nurse is a felony. And we're not their enemy either. It's
Yeah,
just we can't be
absolutely.
caught in the mist. We're not their enemy. We're here to give you like, do you want your wound care today? No, you don't want it. It's okay. Like we're just
Yeah.
offering you care. So it's like they don't have any reason to really be upset with us. It was more so a lot of strife between them and the COs, but you just don't want to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
No, I love that because you're so right. It's like being upset with a puppy. Like, why would you do that to a nurse? The nurse is there to care for you, right? Just
Yeah.
like a puppy's there to make you happy.
Yeah, and I worked there for 4 years. So like the guys, they knew me, especially the ones that have been there for a long time. So they would tell, the newcomers in like, that's Iman, she a little crazy, don't mess with her. And they also defend you too. Like if they see somebody doing something funny, they'll be like, Iman, I handle that. Don't worry, we got you.
That's
So
so cool.
they definitely look out for you as well.
So why did you leave that job?
So a year in, I met a lot of PAs, psych
Mm.
NPs, and I was just watching what they do and they seemed to love it. I asked them, how is it? They said it's a great profession. And I was always interested from the time that I was in Tuskegee. I had met a teacher. Her name was Miss White. And we did journal entries, right? And so she had read like the things that I've gone through in my life. And she was like, you should go into psych. And I didn't understand what she meant when she said that, but I was like, I knew I loved her class. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel like school for me. She's the one that kind of inspired me to do that. She was just like, your life experiences, you've seen a lot. And I think that you could help a lot of people. So I decided to do that. I had been new from Tuskegee that I was going to do that. But like I said, I did med surg just like everybody had recommended, get your experience or whatever. So that's why I said corrections was a natural segue because there was psychiatry there. So when I was meeting with these NPs and they're telling me like how their job is, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I know. So a year after working there, I applied for NP school.
Wow. And how rigorous was the program, in your opinion, compared to nursing school, your bachelor's?
Yeah, to me, my nursing program was extremely rigorous. And added on top of it, my professors, they're so intelligent. And they also had this kind of thing where they felt like you as a woman of color, you need to be very good. So to me, their training and like that schooling was extremely rigorous. That was a whole nother level. I found, for me personally, in comparison, I found the NP school to be easy, to be honest with you. It didn't feel hard at all.
And how long did that program last?
The NP program was 2.5 years full time, and I still worked full time at Rikers as well.
Jeez. And what was your next step after you got licensed as an NP?
So they were trying to recruit me. They're like, oh, we got it right here. And I was like, no, I know that this place is not going to have me in a space where I'm going to learn as much as possible and be well-rounded. They even have a specific formulary when it comes to psychiatry meds. So I just knew that wasn't the right learning setting for me. So I decided to go to, there was a hospital. I don't want to say the hospital's names, but I went to the hospital setting inpatient because I knew I would learn a lot fast. So that's what I did next.
Okay. And you said inpatient. What were you doing? What was your role in that position?
So it's an adolescent facility. There's one MD there and me in each of the lodges, kind of like each of the lodges is different. But literally, I was taking care of 20 patients on my own. And because it's adolescents, now you have the added layer of having to call the parent for every single med change. And as you know, in the inpatient setting, I'm like trying to titrate medications quickly while the insurance company is like, they got to go. They got to get discharged. And they're like, did they cut themselves today? How deep was the cut? Nah, they could leave. And I'm just like, what is this? And then I have my patients that I'm seeing. I can only see my patients literally for an hour. Out of my whole day, I can only do rounds for an hour. The rest of it was calling parents. It was educating parents. It was writing notes. I just felt like that was not the way to practice psychiatry. Not to mention that the people are not exercising and they're feeding them unhealthy food. Like I just didn't see how I could stay in that environment for long.
So you were a psych NP in this facility working
Yes.
with adolescents.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. And you were working with 20 patients. That's a lot.
It was 20 at a time. Like you have no choice but to learn. That's why I tell all of my students, I'm like, go on ahead and go inpatient for 7 months. You're gonna know everything you need to know about psychiatry quickly because, and even the education aspect, like me having to take some complex medications and explain it to parents who are already panicking and they're like, are you trying to drug my child? Like it's a lot of moving parts. So I always tell people go on ahead and go inpatient first, whether it's RN or your MP, do that for a few months and then transition out.
How long into it did you decide to quit that?
So I knew it was 2 months in. One of the reasons why I had chosen that hospital in particular and that job was because I knew that facility allowed you to actually see private patients like outside of the time that you work. So like after hours, they allow you to see private patients. And I was like, oh, I already knew I was going to start a private practice because I'm very entrepreneurial. Like I've started businesses in the past. So I knew that was the route that I was going to go in. So 2 months after just seeing all of that, I went on ahead and started seeing private clients after hours after work.
So did you end up getting a business license and start your own private practice within 2 months of working in that inpatient facility?
So this is how I started. 2 months in, they said I could use the office. I had a Psychology Today profile, my phone, and my computer. That's what I did. But I started seeing like people are really calling me and I'd be shocked. I'd be so grateful, but I was so shocked. I'm like, oh, people are really calling me. People are really choosing me to be their provider. So I definitely took simple cases at first. But as my knowledge grew, which was exponentially quick in that type of environment, then I started to take more complex cases.
And you did all of this from that office that they gave you access to?
Yep. The director met with me. She was like, I guess that was probably reserved for the MDs. I don't think any NP had ever really took advantage of that, but I saw that. I saw it on the description that was one of the benefits, and I was with it.
So did the clients see you in person or was it virtual?
But those times virtual wasn't a thing. They saw me in person and they would come from Yonkers, it was far. I was all the way upstate. They were driving like 30, 40 minutes to come see me. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, you know what? And I wasn't passionate about inpatient, number one. So I knew I would go outpatient, do an outpatient job. And then I had found an office space in Yonkers. So it just aligned. Like I went into an outpatient job and started seeing private patients on the side.
And so walk me through the process that you had to take then to actually turn it into a full-on private practice.
Slowly but surely. I had already had a business, like an LLC that I wasn't using. So I literally just started using that LLC. Like I said, I got the office space. And so now I had a place to do it outside of that place because I left that job. So I needed an office space. So I actually asked one of my friends who I went to school with, and I was like, do you know anybody that has like extra office space? Because I knew just from looking at different videos online that it's better to start off like renting an office space from maybe an interrelated but different discipline. So say like chiropractor or PT, like so that you don't have to jump right in to just going ahead and having a $10,000 like suite to pay for. So I did it like that. And I literally, like people ask me, I didn't have a business plan. I would say, okay, I'm seeing clients and I'm like, oh, they said they needed a fax machine. Okay, let me go find how to do a fax machine, an electronic one. I did not have that's something very real about me. When I do business, I don't try to make this huge complex plan. I just go with the flow. And as I see the need, then I just problem solve and I do each thing like that. So I don't have complex plans, to be honest.
I love that. The way you approach it, it seems because a lot of people really do overcomplicate business. But the way you did it is like you saw the need and you just developed your business around that need, right? And you continued to develop it as you saw the need also change and develop, right? So that's so cool the way that you handle that.
I'm still doing that. The whole, like what you do as a private practice owner is just problem solve. You see a situation, you see, okay, the person stumbled on the onboarding. Okay, let me see how I could fix that. All you're doing is tweaking systems until it gets to be perfected.
Now in New York, in order to run your own private practice as a psych NP, do you need a physician on board?
So I believe it's after 3,600 hours, you do not need an MD. However, my preceptor, Dr. Fu, He taught me. He was my preceptor for my whole full year, and he had no issue co-signing anything that I needed in terms of business or anything like that, because he knew he personally trained me for a whole year. So that wasn't a
Wow.
problem if I needed that. But after 3,600 hours, you don't need it.
So at the moment, do you have a physician that you're working with, or are you solely doing it on your own?
Yeah, so we work together right now. He's the medical director, and we're working
Wow.
together. Yeah.
Do you have any staff on board?
No, it's just me. That's
No.
it. I'm solo. Like people think like I'm like doing something so complex. Like no, like it's just me. It's my baby, honestly, and I could definitely hire out, but I feel very nervous too. I don't want to ever bring someone onto the practice and they like don't provide the same level of customer service or the same quality of care. So I'm very scared, even though I've been advised a lot of times to go on ahead and do that, but I'm still scared.
And a lot of people who are watching this video, they don't realize that the way I found you was because this guy who does like these salary transparency videos was interviewing you in New York City and asking you how much you earned for a living and what you did for a living. So when you mentioned that you were earning, what was the number that you said?
600,000.
$600,000 per year. And then he asked you what you do for a living, and you said you were a psych NP and you have your own private practice. I was like, I need to have you on this show because there's so many nurses, because I have a Discord server, and I also on my YouTube channel, I can't even count the number of times that I've had people ask me, hey, can you interview a psych NP? Please, 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 please. I'm like, okay, I'll see if I can reach out to some. And I've reached out to many before, but it's so hard to get them to share some of their time with me in order to get them in these interviews. But what was the process of you getting to the point where you're now making like $600,000 a year? Like, how many hours are you even working per week in order to make that much?
I work 4 days a week, and I work from 9:30 to 8. So that's how much I work. And then in terms of, it was a gradual workup. And this is what I recommend to everyone. Like you're trying to start, I have a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm so inspired by you. Okay, I'm just going to get my NP license and I'm going to start a private practice. I'm like, I don't think you should do that. First of all, the brain doesn't really like inconsistency. So for a lot of people, the safer and the more healthy way to start a business is to start it on the side. So when I was running my practice, I was doing outpatient care for facilities. I would pick up contracts. I worked part-time. I worked here, I worked like I am all for having multiple streams of income along with what you're doing. So that's how I did it. So it was a gradual build. I don't do any marketing. I really and truly don't do much. It's just word of mouth, and I've collaborated with other providers for referrals. And so it's mainly word of mouth. If you do a great job, gradually those people will tell their friends, their families, and that's how you get referrals. That's literally the process. So it takes time though.
When we lived in New York City, I remember I felt like the amount of services that patients got for mental health was more abundant than here in California, which is why I can see why there's so many homeless people with mental health issues here in California, is because when people seek out mental help here in California, it's so hard to find a mental health worker, a psych nurse, or a doctor, a psychiatrist who can take them on as a patient. Because even through like experiences that I've seen with coworkers at my job, they said they can't get an appointment for their children for months on end with a psychiatric or a psych NP, whatever have you, a mental health worker, because they're just overwhelmed with the amount of mental health cases that they need to take.
It's really, really challenging. I hear all the time, like the patient is just, I've been searching, like this is really challenging. And so what I do, even like I have clients right now that are like needing soon appointments. So sometimes I'll work on the weekend. I'll, try my best, especially because usually it's an emergency, right? Like somebody can't wait a month if they're going through an emergency. So what I do is sometimes, and I love that I have the ability to do that. I can look at my schedule and see how to fit it in, but the need is great. Like people really need mental health care, and it's just getting worse. I think with the economy and how many, just the current events, like people are really going through it.
Did you see an uptick of clients during COVID?
Oh, yes.
With the amount of patients you were seeing? Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And then we switched to some more so telehealth, which I think has been a huge blessing, because now I could see more people. People don't have to take time off for work. Like psychiatry is a little different than like medical. We have to see our clients. Sometimes we're seeing our clients every week, every 2 weeks. And so for a lot of people, going into an office is really challenging. They're having to call off or rearrange schedules. So telehealth, even though the pandemic sucked, I feel like that emergence of that was really helpful. in mental health.
I agree. And it reduces your overhead cost as well, because if you don't necessarily have to be in the office in order to see your patients, then you don't have to worry about the costs involved in of running the office, right? Wow.
Yeah. Overhead is
Yeah.
low.
And so what do you say is the most challenging thing about your career?
I would say the most challenging thing is that people forget that you're a human. You gain these really powerful connections with people. They see you as family, they see you as a friend. And despite the fact that you are all of those things, I think sometimes it's hard for people to recognize that, like, Iman needs to take a break on a Saturday or a Sunday. And despite the fact that I'll still show up, like, it can be challenging that sometimes people don't see you as a human who needs to decompress.
Yeah, and to add to that, how are you able to set aside time to go on like a vacation or take some time off from work if the business is reliant on you to run it?
I've seen clients, away. We're on a membership plan. Our clients are on a membership plan. So what we do, I block the time, obviously. And so sometimes I just work a lot before and I work a lot after. And I bring my laptop with me everywhere I go anyways, just in case someone needs a fill. Like, that's huge. Like, I never want to be like on vacation and something's going on with the pharmacy, or all of these situations with medications come up. So having my computer and being able to do that from everywhere is really helpful.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, which is why I get that you care a lot about quality and the customer service that you provide. But do you think ultimately you might want to add on some additional staff to maybe take on clients that want you to take them on? Do you think you'd ever get to that point?
I'm really strongly considering. I'm actually training someone right now, and I'm thinking she might be the one. But I'm just going to be really careful about it. I think it's easy to get burnt out in this field. I could see someone getting burnt out quickly if they're not exercising, eating well, doing what they need to do in their personal lives. Very easy to burn out. And so I would never want like someone to come on, good intentions, but like this can, if you are not careful, you don't know what you're doing with this. I just want to make sure that I'm training the person very, very well and that they can really operate in the same capacity as me. They're going to have their own style, their own way of doing things, but the same passion, hopefully.
Are there times where you ever question what it is that you're doing and you ask yourself, why do I keep doing this? Are there ever times where you do that?
There's moments, especially I think more challenging is moments where like clients are very like heavily reliant on meds and they feel like the medicine isn't working. And I'm just like, or clients who, older psychiatrists, they used to give a lot of benzodiazepines. They used to give a lot of controlled medications. So you have older clients that have gotten tolerant to it. And just that back and forth with this medicine is not helping at this point, but they feel so attached to it. So sometimes in that regard, where people feel so compelled with these controlled substances, it does feel like, dang, anyone ever like really take heed to exercising, eating well, and having that lifestyle overhaul. So that could be challenging. Most of my clients, though, they're attracted to us because that is the lifestyle they wanted to live. But it is frustrating when I get clients that are like that and they don't understand why I don't want them to go down that path. And so it can be challenging in that aspect. But every time that happens, I just recognize that's a few and far in between that you'll run into clients like that. Majority of my clients want to actually have a holistic lifestyle, which is why they chose our practice. So that's an awesome thing as well.
You said you have membership, like your clients pay into a membership in order to have access to you. Does insurance cover any of that?
Yeah, so actually that's how we started our practice. Within the last 6 months, we have started to take insurance, which I think was an important thing to do in recognizing what's going on with the economy, the fact that people are getting laid off a lot more and finances is becoming a barrier. I love that we did that. So it's a newer clinic that we started. It's called Freedom Psychiatry, and we do take insurance for that. Now, with insurance gets tricky though, because some people have really high deductibles. So some clients feel like, I don't want to deal with insurance. Like sometimes you put the claim in, it doesn't. So some clients prefer, even though they have insurance, to just have a membership plan out of pocket. But this new clinic where we are taking insurance has been amazing because we're able to say yes to a lot more people. And so I've loved that. The pivot of doing that.
So how many clinics do you currently have?
So it's the insurance-based clinic and then our private practice, which is membership-based.
And who submits those claims to the insurance companies?
The biller.
Oh, so you have a biller in that clinic that does that part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that part of your business. You said you're able to take on more clients. So are you providing the same type of service in that clinic?
Same thing. Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it located in Yonkers also?
Yeah, so it's in Yonkers, but most of our clients, I would say 90% of our clients we see virtually. I've
Oh,
just started, with lots of convincing from some clients, I've just started coming back into the office. But all of this time ever since the pandemic, I've been working virtually.
wow. And okay, how many employees are in that clinic?
So it's just, I'm the main provider that provides the service.
Oh,
I have an office
yeah.
manager and I have a biller. That's
Oh,
it.
I
And
see.
then, of course, our medical director. That's it. Simple.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you, because there's a long, lengthy process, I'm guessing, to get yourself to the point where you can claim the money from the insurance companies, or how does that work? Because are you also able to get like payments from Medicare
Yeah,
as well?
I don't accept Medicare, but the way that you do it is
Mhm.
you have these billing companies. They usually have a service as well where they do the insurance applications for you. So they handle all of that. All you would have to do is contact the company that does it. They handle all of that for you. You tell them which ones you want to be on, and then you do that. It's not hard.
Wow. That is so cool. Okay. So you said the next step in your life is to invest in real estate.
Yeah, because I realized that I always want to increase my income. That's something that is just a personal goal for me. And for me to do that would mean taking on more clients currently, right? So I don't want to have to take on more clients and that makes me more stressed. And then now my quality of care goes down. So I decided to just go the investing route so that I could have more time freedom.
So are you looking to buy like single family properties, multifamily properties? What's the goal with that?
Multifamily. So we did a multifamily already. And what I would love to get into now is I would love to get into development because I really love the finished product. I love finishes. I love all of those different things. So for me, I just want to build quality products and we're specializing in buy and holds for Section 8 rentals.
Wow. And how did you find your partner in this part of your life like that? You trust enough to invest in real estate with you?
Oh, I'm married. I don't trust any partner.
Oh, okay.
Me and my
Okay.
husband, we did that together. No, no partnership though. We've saved and we work hard and we do all of this on our own.
What does your partner do for a living, or your husband?
He works in mental health as well. So
What?
yeah, we both do.
Wait, is he also a psych NP?
No, he's not a psych MP, but he works in mental health. He's a counselor.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mhm.
Wow, I guess you guys a perfect match right there.
Definitely.
You guys have any kids?
No kids yet.
Okay, yeah.
No.
There you go. That you guys are dinks. Okay, double income, no kids.
No, I get you. Yeah.
That is so cool. So you guys decided to do this together, right? Like the investing in real estate. But why, you said you want to do like development. Do you guys have a contractor? Do you have a real estate broker? Like, how did you even dive into this? And did you not consult anybody before you did it? Or you just were like, "Hey, you know what? We have some money. Let's just go invest in a property."
Yeah, so I've actually always wanted to get into real estate. My first year, then I made like 150 my first year, and I was like, I want to do real estate. So I had a friend that was really big into real estate, and he's like, Mom, 150 is nothing. Get your money up. So I was like, okay. So I've always wanted to do it, but I would keep looking at houses, and the numbers didn't make sense to me. So I decided to just wait until I was able to purchase in cash. And also another thing is I'm very risk intolerant. I'm Caribbean. I feel nervous about money and taking loans and things of that nature. So I decided to just wait until we have the full amount. And that's the way that we plan to continue to invest is doing things 100% cash. And so that way we don't have that stressor of a loan or a mortgage or just debt and that weight that it carries. So
Oh, yeah. So you said you currently have one investment property that you own.
it's correct. Hmm.
Interesting. Multifamily. How many units does that multifamily property have?
3.
Oh, cool. And is it fully rented? Do you have all the tenants in that property? How long did it take for you to get the tenants in there, or were they already in there when you bought the property?
Oh, I would never buy a property that has tenants already in it because I only want to exclusively rent to Section 8. But it took a little while because we didn't know how to exactly market for Section 8. It was a beautiful product, but we just didn't know how to market specifically for that. And we were using a realtor, and we came to quickly understand that, like for realtors, I think they have a different aim. They just want to bring somebody in. And for us, we wanted to make sure it was quality people that were going to care for the space. Like we really care about our space. So we wanted to make sure that it was people that were going to be great tenants. And so we decided to actually take that over myself. So that was like a little something I was doing on the side. I was like answering my calls, and I was answering calls from. So it was great though, because I use the same principles that I use for my practice, which I personally screen all of my clients before they're allowed to come in. And the same thing I did with the tenants, I was able to screen them, ask open-ended questions, hear what is it that they're looking for in an apartment, and then actually be able to see them, see what they're like, and meet them. So that I think made the difference, was a shifting from using like a realtor to doing it ourselves. So it was really helpful. We got really, really good ones. So we're happy.
So for people that don't know what Section 8 housing is, can you explain?
So Section 8 housing is a voucher that's from the government that helps people that have low income be able to go to private landlords and use this voucher, which is like cash, to pay for their rent.
And what was the application process like for you to become a landlord that allows Section 8 tenants into your home?
So basically what we did is, I didn't even know the process. We went down there like, how do you do it? So they were like, first you got to find a tenant. So you find a tenant that does have a voucher first. Then this is all local to every state has different laws. So for us, it was that we had to find a tenant that has a voucher, and then we submit the application. It's a very lengthy application with a lot of stuff in it. So did all of that. And then basically they send out an inspector to inspect it and make sure that it meets all the quality standards. They have very specific laws, very specific rules. The biggest thing that we tripped up on is window guards. So there's a lot that goes into that. And we didn't really know. We went into it with a positive mindset. And I think the inspector realized like, we're pretty new to this. Like, it just kind of gave us pointers on how to, because there's no research. There's like, you look online, it's totally different from what they're actually wanting. So a lot of it is word of mouth, or, the inspector is telling you how to correct what it is. So it took us 2 times, but after the second time, we were able to get the section, what was that? So Section 8 and DCA is 2 different things. So we got the Section 8 one, and then we did pass C really easily, because then we knew by then what the rules were and what exactly they're looking for.
And what is DCA?
DCA, I don't know. I think it's Division of Community Affairs or something like that. But basically there's Section 8 vouchers, there's DCA, there's a lot of different vouchers. So, but each of them has their own process, but within the same state, they're all looking for the same things.
Oh, so let's say you get a tenant and the tenant has this Section 8 voucher. Is it a physical voucher? Like it's a ticket?
Well, no, it's like a paper. It's like a paper. It says the amount that they're approved for. And then it's by bedroom. So like if it's like we have 4 and 5 bedrooms. So it's like 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom voucher. This is what the amount is for.
So then which office do you go to show proof of this voucher and submit the application?
So each place has their own office. We did it all on a computer. Everything we just submitted on the computer, but they have their application, you fill it out, you put it in, and then they come and bring an inspector out. That's the whole process. It's not too complicated.
And how long did it take from the moment you interviewed your tenant? Because you said it was by the second tenant or the second person that you interviewed that you were able to get them into the unit. How long did it take from?
It's a while. First of all, when you put it in, you don't hear anything for weeks. And it tells you, it says on the packet, like it could take 6 to 8 weeks to process. So it takes a long time. Their offices are backed up. They have a small amount of caseworkers that are working on it. So it's a long process. I think the whole total time that everything took was about a month and a half. So it took a long time.
As a landlord that accepts Section 8 tenants, it may be possible that after your tenant submits or potential tenant submits that application, they might just find another place because it's taking so long just for them to get approved as a tenant to your place.
Not really.
No? Really?
Because they would have liked your place. They would have told you right away if they don't want to be at your place. Right. It's like we're both in the waiting game. We're communicating. Did you hear anything? Did you hear anything? Right. They're not really trying to necessarily, because that voucher would be this. If they go to another apartment, it's the same thing. It's the process and how long it takes is the same.
So what is the percentage that you get from the government versus the percentage you get from your tenant in terms of rent?
This is all dependent on how much, they make. Basically, for one tenant, it's 100% from the government. And from another tenant, the only part that they're responsible for is $68.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. And so I love that. You know, if I ever get into real estate investing, I have to do it that way because you are providing such a good service for society.
Yeah.
These are people that could not otherwise be able to afford a place like this because it's probably too expensive if they're trying to move into a place like this. And now they can afford it because the government may be paying 100% of it, or they might just be paying under a few $100s. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Wow.
But our whole thing is that what happens is, though, you have people who take advantage of this program, right? We have landlords who provide a horrible product. Like for me, I make money. I don't care like to invest and make it look beautiful. And this is not my only job, right? So for me, it was really important to make sure it was a quality product and that it was a beautiful space for them to live in, that we're responsive. That's the standard that I want. I've lived in high-end apartments. I've lived in low-end apartments. And the consensus on all of them is that management sucked. Like
Yes.
management sucked across the board. So for me, I moved from an apartment into doing this. And I was like, I know what it feels like. So I'm not going to ever try to create an environment where they're not happy.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I love that. Okay. So if I have any viewers who may be interested in like reaching out to you for some advice on, let's say, because some of them maybe want to get into starting their own private practice, becoming a Psych NP or anything like that. If they have any questions, can they reach out to you?
So I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me. Yeah, you know, it weighed a lot on my heart, and I really wanted to help. I've never wanted to do mentorship or anything like that, and I really wanted to help. But I quickly realized that I think people feel a little bit entitled to your time in a sense, and I don't think that that's the route that I want to go down. But I do have someone who's really great that I am like referring people to she does mentorship, and her name is Psych Nurse Iman, and she's really, really great. And we are always in communication as well with what she's trying to get done. But I think that I want to stick to real estate and my practice. I don't mind answering some questions, but I can't, unfortunately, like there was hundreds of people who've reached out, and I can't, unfortunately, have a conversation with each and every one. And so what my aim is, obviously, is to at least share this through social media in that platform, just because I don't have the time to necessarily speak to each person one-on-one.
If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to our channel and watch this video here, where I speak with a nurse who learned how to make over $30,000 per month in real estate with zero money down.